I'd like to bring welcome and solidarity from the Stop the War Coalition. It's a fantastic thing you're doing here. It's a very, very important thing you're doing here. And I'll tell you why. It's true that Stephen Crabb must go, but I also think it's true that the whole Tory government must go. And some people are saying at the moment that our job is to prepare for the next election. And I even heard someone say we've got 4.5 years to get ready for it. Well, I'm here to tell you something slightly different. I think we can't wait 4.5 years to get rid of this government. We can't even wait 1 year to get rid of this government. They are divided, they are weak, they are vulnerable. Now is the time we must bring the whole lot of them down. And that's why it's absolutely right that people are coming together, organising, mobilising in the centre of towns and cities up and down this country, and we've got to continue to do that. Because we actually live in times of great possibility, but also in times of great danger. And I can't, from the Stop the War Coalition, I can't resist saying a few words about, I guess, the person who is the most dangerous in the whole world, the person who is what is laughingly called the leader of the free world. A man who thinks it's a good idea to send threatening tweets to the president of North Korea during the night after he's just tested the biggest hydrogen bomb since Hiroshima. A man who believes it's a good idea to scrap the Iran nuclear deal, which narrowly managed to bring us back from the brink of another desperate war in the Middle East just 18 months ago. I've been quite pleased, I don't know what you think, I don't know if you've been following it, but I've been quite pleased to see that the sexist sleazeball Harvey Weinstein has been removed from some of his positions of power and influence in American society. But it's like sometimes you feel as if the media is not noticing that we have a self-declared sexist, a sociopath who is prepared to bring the world to flames, actually running the White House at the moment, and we've got to do something about him as well. And of course the problem is, actually I don't know if you saw, there was an announcement yesterday that he's actually coming over to Britain soon. Now, it's actually humiliation for him and for Theresa May and the Tories that his state visit has been reduced to just a working everyday visit, which is an embarrassment. And that's actually a victory for protest and a victory for people power. But I'm here to say one other thing as well, that whatever the status of his visit, when he comes, there will be tens or hundreds of thousands of people marching in Britain to tell him he isn't welcome here. But the problem is, of course, that our Prime Minister and the British government is one of, if not the greatest supporter of Donald Trump anywhere around the world. And of course that our government and successive governments before it have been the most enthusiastic supporters, not just supporters, but participants in a series of wars that have caused carnage, mayhem and misery across whole regions of the world. And that is unacceptable. And one of the things we need to do, and we need change on a whole number of fronts, but one of the things we urgently need to do, and another reason why we can't wait 4.5 years, is we need a drastic 180-degree change in foreign policy too. We need to end these crazy wars. And it's not just about the destruction and the destabilisation that the wars cause. It's also about the kind of priorities, the kind of society that we want to live in, the vision of the world we want to live in. Is it a world in which we spend £100 billion on renewing Trident while our schools are falling apart, while we don't have enough nurses in our hospitals, and while welfare is being slashed? Or should we be spending that enormous fund of money on things ordinary people need up and down this country. Now, as I said at the beginning, it's not just it's a grim world when you look around it, but also there is a whole lot of hope and a whole lot of possibility. And one of the things that a lot of people ignore, the media ignores, even some of the Labour politicians ignore, is the fact that all these wars have been opposed by the vast majority of ordinary people in this country. Opinion polls show that now 85% of the population think it was wrong to attack Iraq. And that's a fantastic achievement in itself, popular organisation and popular mobilisation, and we should be proud of that. And it's something that we need to hold on to. But we also, the other bit of good news, obviously, is that we also have a leader of one of the big parties in Britain, a leader of the Labour Party, for the first time ever, really, who is prepared to represent that opinion and is prepared to take a principled and open stand against these wars. And that is so, so important, and it's a message we need to continue to argue for and to continue to sustain, because I thought one of the most inspiring, one of the most important moments in the election campaign was the day after the appalling bombing in Manchester. Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour leadership had the courage and the confidence to call a press conference and publicly and openly say, the main cause of terrorism, the main cause of destabilisation and violence around the world is the kind of foreign policy we've been pursuing and these dreadful wars. And that was actually a moment that began to turn the election campaign around. It was a moment that surprised the Tories, and the next day the opinion polls showed that 65 or 75% of the population agreed. And that is a fantastic achievement in itself and very, very valuable. I'm being asked to end now, and I'll end by saying I'm honoured, by the way, to be the last speaker. I think it's an accident, by the way, but I'm honoured that I am the last speaker in this fantastic rally. And I hope very much that you continue this kind of organisation and that this isn't the last protest or rally or mobilisation that you have here in Haverfordwest. Because as I say, our job is to get rid of warmongering, vicious MPs like Stephen Crabb. He's voted, as you know, for every single war and invasion and occupation and bombing that he's had the ability to vote for, and that's a disgusting record. He's one of the strongest supporters of Israel at a time when Israel has been pummeling the Palestinian people time after time, and that in itself is a disgrace. But even when, and I agree with people when we say, even when we bring this government down and Jeremy Corbyn goes into number 10, we shouldn't believe our job is over. Because Jeremy is an anti-war leader of the Labour Party, but the Labour Party is not united in its opposition to war even. Jeremy has enemies across the establishment, in the military, in the media, in the civil service, and when he gets elected, those forces will be mobilised against him. And when we get him elected, that will just be the beginning of the fight, and we will have to stay mobilised, we will have to stay campaigning, we will have to strengthen our forces until we force out this government, but also force through genuine transformation, not just in foreign policy, but on every front we possibly can. Thanks very much for today. Keep fighting, keep mobilising.